The glittering facade of Hollywood has always been built on a foundation of carefully curated illusions, where the public only sees what the bright studio lights choose to illuminate. Behind the scenes of the world's most glamorous industry, there exists an entirely different reality, one defined by intense creative differences, massive financial stakes, and deeply personal conflicts that rarely make it to the front pages until they completely boil over. For decades, audiences have watched their favorite stars share incredible chemistry on the silver screen, assuming that the magic captured by the camera reflects a genuine harmony between the creators. However, history has shown us time and again that some of the most dramatic stories in show business never actually play out in front of a lens, but rather in closed-door production meetings, hushed dressing rooms, and eventually, the cold and unyielding environment of a court of law. When a highly anticipated cinematic project begins production, the expectations from both the studio executives and the global fan base are astronomical, creating a high-pressure pressure cooker where even the slightest misstep or misunderstanding can trigger a catastrophic chain reaction. It is within this volatile environment that a massive rift began to form between two of the industry's most prominent figures, setting the stage for a multi-year legal warfare that would shock the entertainment world, cost tens of millions of dollars, and forever alter the trajectories of everyone involved. Before we dive deep into the fascinating details of this high-stakes Hollywood breakdown and unravel the complex layers of the truth that have finally come to light, please take a quick moment to hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and join our community so you never miss an exclusive inside look into the biggest stories shaping the world of entertainment today. The story of this particular conflict begins not in a courtroom, but with a celebrated piece of contemporary literature that captured the hearts of millions of readers across the globe. When the adaptation of this deeply emotional and sensitive narrative was announced, it was met with immense excitement, as fans eager to see the beloved characters come to life on the big screen felt that the project was in the most capable hands possible. The production brought together a brilliant director known for his sensitive storytelling and a powerhouse actress celebrated for her charisma and massive cultural influence, creating what many believed would be a definitive cinematic masterpiece. However, as the cameras began to roll and the intense process of bringing a complex story about survival and human resilience got underway, a quiet friction began to develop beneath the surface, unnoticed by the public, but deeply felt by the cast and crew on set. What was supposed to be a collaborative celebration of art and advocacy slowly transformed into a battleground of creative control, where differing visions for the project began to clash in ways that made the working environment increasingly tense and unpredictable. For months, rumors swirled within the industry about a growing divide between the primary creative forces of the film. But the true scale of the animosity remained hidden behind standard promotional materials and carefully worded public relations statements. It was only after the cameras stopped rolling and the film prepared for its eventual release to the public that the fragile piece completely shattered, giving way to an unprecedented wave of public accusations, legal filings, and a public relations war that threatened to destroy reputations built over decades of hard work. The sudden escalation of the dispute left fans and industry insiders completely stunned, as a project designed to raise awareness and bring hope to survivors became entangled in a bitter web of personal grievances, legal maneuvers, and severe allegations that seemed almost impossible to reconcile with the inspiring message of the film itself. As the legal machinery began to turn, the public was forced to watch a tragic spectacle unfold, with one side launching severe allegations that struck at the very heart of professional integrity, while the other side withdrew into a protective silence, choosing to let the formal legal system determine the ultimate truth of the matter. This prolonged silence from one of the central figures created a massive void in the narrative, which was quickly filled by endless media speculation, internet rumors, and unverified reports that amplified the trauma experienced by those caught in the center of the storm. For nearly 2 years, the intense noise of the public discourse dominated the headlines, leaving onlookers to wonder whether the truth would ever truly emerge from the chaos of lawsuits and countersuits. Now, after a grueling and emotionally exhausting journey through the legal system, a definitive turning point has finally been reached, breaking the long-standing silence and revealing the profound emotional toll this conflict has taken on the families involved. The recent resolution of this intense court battle has opened the floodgates for emotional reflections, as those who were forced to endure the weight of untruthful allegations are finally stepping forward to share their perspective on the injustice they experienced. The contrast between the public spectacle and the private suffering could not be more stark, highlighting the immense resilience required to maintain one's dignity when facing a barrage of high-profile accusations in the court of public opinion. As we begin to piece together the timeline of this extraordinary Hollywood saga, we find a story not just of legal strategies and financial costs, but of human endurance, family solidarity, and the long, painful path toward healing after a traumatic ordeal that was carried out under the unrelenting glare of the global spotlight. The generic framework of a standard celebrity feud completely fails to capture the sheer magnitude and bitterness of the conflict that erupted between the 42-year-old filmmaker and actor Justin Baldoni, best known for his breakout role on the television series Jane the Virgin, and the 38-year-old Hollywood powerhouse Blake Lively. The battleground for this intense creative and personal collision was the major cinematic adaptation of the phenomenally popular literary phenomenon It Ends With Us, a project that carried immense emotional weight and massive commercial expectations from the very moment its production was announced. What was meant to be a crowning achievement for both artists, a film designed to shed a compassionate light on the traumatic realities of domestic violence and offer a source of empowerment to survivors worldwide, quickly devolved into a toxic environment behind the scenes. For months during the production cycle, whispers of profound creative differences and an increasingly fractured relationship between the director and his leading lady circulated within the closed circles of the entertainment industry. But the true depth of the animosity remained hidden behind standard promotional campaigns and carefully managed public relations facades. The illusion of harmony was completely and permanently shattered in December of 2024, when Blake Lively officially stepped forward into the public arena with a series of shocking, highly damaging allegations against her director and co-star, instantly igniting a global media firestorm and setting the stage for a prolonged legal warfare that would captivate the public and deeply divide the fan base for nearly 2 years. Lively's public accusations struck at the very core of professional, depersonal integrity, fundamentally shifting the narrative surrounding the film and transforming Justin Baldoni from a celebrated filmmaker into a target of intense public scrutiny and media speculation. The allegations leveled against the director were severe, including claims that he had fostered an unproductive and hostile working environment on set, which culminated in an incredibly damaging accusation of sexual harassment that threatened to permanently derail Baldoni's career and completely erase his decades of hard work in the industry. The impact of these public statements was immediate and devastating, creating a massive wave of online commentary, unverified reports, and intense social media scrutiny that placed an immense emotional burden on Baldoni and his immediate family. Rather than engaging in a chaotic and reactionary public relations war in the press, which would only add to the deafening noise of the media circus, Baldoni and his wife Emily made the deliberate and painful decision to retreat into a protective silence, choosing to place their complete trust in the formal judicial system to uncover the actual facts of the situation. For 23 grueling months, as the legal machinery slowly ground forward, the Baldoni family endured a steady barrage of public judgment and painful narratives spoken into existence, quietly preparing their legal defense while waiting for their day in court. As the scheduled trial date loomed large on the horizon, the legal battle that unfolded behind closed doors was not merely a routine Hollywood dispute, but an astonishingly expensive and deeply aggressive war of attrition waged by two of the most powerful legal teams in the entertainment industry. Sources close to the situation later confirmed the staggering financial scale of the conflict, revealing that the combined legal teams accumulated an astronomical $60 million in fees just to sue and countersue one another over the course of the litigation. This staggering sum of $60 million underlines the absolute refusal of either side to back down, as millions were spent on exhaustive depositions, forensic digital investigations, and extensive pre-trial motions that analyzed every single interaction and conversation that occurred on the set of the film. The financial stakes were entirely overshadowed by the potential reputational damage, as a public trial threatened to expose the raw, unvarnished details of the production to the open court and permanent public record, potentially destroying careers and forever tainting the legacy of a film that was supposed to serve a noble social cause. As the litigation progressed through 2025 and into the early months of 2026, the tension within the entertainment community reached an absolute fever pitch. with industry insiders and fans alike bracing for a spectacular courtroom showdown that promised to be one of the most high-profile trials in modern Hollywood history. The entire momentum of this high-stakes legal war shifted dramatically during a critical pre-trial hearing, when a presiding judge delivered a monumental and devastating blow to the very foundation of Blake Lively's legal strategy. After an exhaustive review of the evidence, the depositions, and the formal arguments presented by both sides, the judge issued a decisive ruling that threw out a staggering 10 out of 13 of Lively's total legal claims against Justin Baldoni. Most importantly, the judge completely dismissed the highly publicized and devastating claim of sexual harassment, finding insufficient legal or factual grounds to allow the accusation to proceed to a jury trial. This massive judicial intervention served as a profound validation for Baldoni and his legal team, effectively stripping the prosecution of its most damaging weapons and fundamentally dismantling the public narrative that had heavily weighted against the director for nearly 2 years. With 10 of her primary claims completely discarded by the court, Lively's legal position was severely weakened, leaving her remaining 3 minor claims standing on incredibly shaky ground just as the final countdown to the formal trial began. The sudden collapse of the majority of the legal claims created an immediate and intense pressure cooker environment for both parties, forcing a rapid re-evaluation of their positions as the scheduled trial date sat a mere 2 weeks away. On May 4th, following an intense round of emergency negotiations conducted under extreme secrecy, both legal teams officially announced that an intense court settlement had been reached, bringing a sudden, dramatic end to the fierce courtroom warfare before a single witness could ever be called to the stand. The resolution of the case, however, exposed a fascinating and highly unusual truth about the entire multi-year conflict, as formal confirmations revealed that neither Blake Lively nor Justin Baldoni earned or walked away with a single dollar from the final settlement agreement. No financial compensation, damages, or settlements were paid to either individual, meaning that the staggering $60 million spent on high-powered attorneys was entirely absorbed by the legal process itself, leaving both stars to foot their own massive legal bills while walking away with nothing but a mutually signed piece of paper. The legal guns were finally silenced, but the cessation of formal hostility in the courtroom only marked the beginning of a complex healing process for the families involved, and opened the door for the true human cost of this Hollywood trauma to finally be spoken aloud by those who had survived its wreckage. In the immediate aftermath of this monumental settlement, the contrast between how the 2 primary actors chose to move forward with their lives offered a fascinating look into the complex machinery of high-profile public relations. Just hours after the legal papers were finalized and the multi-million-dollar lawsuit was officially laid to rest, Blake Lively chose to step directly back into the most intense public spotlight available by attending the annual Met Gala. Walking the famous red carpet under the flashbulbs of hundreds of photographers, she posed in a pastel archival Versace gown from 2006, projecting an image of absolute elegance, poise, and unbothered glamour to the world. A day later, her husband, Ryan Reynolds, reinforced this narrative of carefree normalcy by sharing a light-hearted, smiling selfie of the couple on social media, signaling to their millions of followers that the family was ready to put the exhausting chapter behind them. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni and his wife, Emily, appeared equally unbothered, but chose a completely different, far more grounded setting to mark their newfound freedom from the legal system. The couple was spotted by photographers in Nashville, Tennessee, looking relaxed and in exceptionally good spirits as they walked hand-in-hand through the local neighborhood and visited a small community eatery known as the Little Rad Market, presenting a quiet picture of family solidarity and relief. Yet, despite these outward appearances of effortless transition and immediate return to normalcy, the deep emotional scars left by the 2-year public warfare could not be erased by a single settlement or a beautiful red carpet appearance. The true human cost of the prolonged battle began to emerge when Justin and Emily Baldoni finally broke their long-standing silence through an emotional video posted to Instagram, speaking directly to the public for the first time since the ordeal began. Standing side by side, Emily expressed an immense and overwhelming sense of gratitude for the core group of friends, family, and vocal fans who had stood firmly by them since Lively first came forward with her devastating public allegations. Justin, looking visibly moved, quietly noted that this profound sense of gratitude was the very thing that had saved their sanity and protected their family unit during the darkest moments of the litigation. However, Emily was quick to clarify that the thankfulness they felt for their supporters did not in any way negate or lessen the immense injustice and deep personal pain they had been forced to quietly wrestle with over the past few years. With heartbreaking honesty, Emily detailed how their family had to constantly struggle to understand how an experience so traumatic could even happen to them, especially when the public campaign against Justin was disguised and marketed under the noble banner of a fight for women's empowerment and safety. She acknowledged that the level of emotional trauma inflicted upon their household was something they would have to actively work to move through as a family for a very long time to come. Justin explained to his audience that the primary reason they had waited so long to speak their truth was because they were deeply conscious of the vast amount of painful and completely untruthful narratives that were being spoken into public existence. His wife interjected to emphasize the word untruthful, underscoring the deep resentment they felt toward the false accusations that had circulated globally. Justin explained that these endless media reports created a toxic level of noise, and because they fundamentally refused to add to that chaotic noise, they made the disciplined decision to step back and let the formal justice system run its course without their interference. Now that the truth and the objective facts of the case have spoken clearly for themselves through the dismissal of the vast majority of the claims, the Baldonis are finally focusing on a long process of emotional healing. The resolution of the court case also shed light on a joint statement previously released to the media, where both parties attempted to salvage the ultimate legacy of the film that had brought them together in the first place. In that statement, they noted that the final cinematic product of It Ends With Us remained a profound source of pride for everyone who worked tirelessly to bring the complex narrative to life on screen. They reaffirmed their shared goal of raising global awareness and making a meaningful, lasting impact in the lives of domestic violence survivors, stating that this crucial advocacy was a mission they both still firmly stood behind. Crucially, the statement included an acknowledgement that the creative and production process had presented extraordinary challenges, and it formally recognized that the initial concerns raised by Ms. Lively absolutely deserved a thorough and respectful hearing. Furthermore, both parties used the opportunity to state that they remain firmly and unconditionally committed to maintaining professional workplaces that are completely free of improprieties and unproductive environments. They expressed a sincere collective hope that the legal settlement would finally bring complete closure to this situation, allowing every single person involved in the production to move forward constructively, creatively, and in absolute peace, while fostering a far more respectful and less hostile environment online. However, the ripples of this explosive Hollywood conflict extended far beyond the immediate circle of the two main co-stars, causing severe and potentially permanent damage to long-standing industry friendships. In the final weeks leading up to the settlement, as Lively aggressively demanded that Baldoni pay more than $8 million to cover her extensive legal fees, she spent her time retreating with her family in upstate New York. During this exact same period, her former best friend, global pop icon Taylor Swift, was celebrating her historic, star-studded wedding to Travis Kelce at Madison Square Garden. Lively's noticeable absence from the monumental celebration sent shockwaves through the entertainment world, fueling immediate speculation that a massive rift had formed between the two longtime companions. Sources close to the situation subsequently confirmed that Taylor Swift believes her historic friendship with Lively is officially over, as the pop star felt deeply betrayed after being repeatedly dragged into the messy legal and public relations battle with Baldoni against her will. The fallout from the litigation has left a trail of fractured relationships, staggering financial losses, and deep emotional exhaustion in its wake, serving as a stark and sobering reminder of the immense pressures and volatile dynamics that govern the highest echelons of show business. As the curtain finally falls on this intense and traumatic chapter of Hollywood history, both Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively are left to rebuild their lives and careers in a post-settlement reality. While the legal files are permanently